That's fine. Da, 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 da. There we go. Ah, crap. Ah. Okay. Oh. All right. Oh, sorry about that. So I'm pretty much a one-man show here. I have to set everything up before I can start. Um, hi everybody. My name is Diego, and when I get into my Lego room, I'm known as DLego. So today you are here, whether you know about this or not, or stumbled upon it, but I'm gonna try to explain and show how I made a Lego soccer ball. So this is obviously the real soccer ball, but to kind of give a premise of where I'm going with this, when it comes to making a sphere, right, it's a little bit harder than anything else, especially with Lego being so rigid and not as many curvature pieces. But when it comes to making a soccer ball, it's a little bit simpler than, say, like a basketball or a uh, baseball, mainly because of the seams. So, like for this, you have 32 panels, right? You have 12 hexagons that are the black shape and 20 hexagons which is the white shape. And so basically, if you're able to make these shapes and connect them, you can eventually get this shape out of Lego, rather than, say, a basketball or baseball seam. That's a little bit more difficult, since those are also curved as well. But to start off, I'll show you how I made each shape, because that's pretty much where I started from. So looking at the hexagon and the pentagon, you notice they have the same length. So it's pretty much the same length, just one 6-sided and the other one's 5-sided. So if you look at this 1x4 piece here, right, it pretty much matches the seam. It's a little bit smaller, but when you add the Legos fully, you'll see that this is the good size to go, rather than a 1x5, or even to go even smaller than a 1x3, right? So the next thing you need to figure out is how to make this shape, right? Lego does have some pieces to make a hexagon, but if you want to make the angles correctly, then I suggest using these 1x2 hinges, right? With the 1x2 hinge, you can pretty much make any angle you want. And if you do the math, then you know the exact angle that you need. And the other thing too, I guess, when thinking about how these shapes are connected, right? You have the pentagon, which is connected to each hexagon. So you always have 5 surrounding 1, right? 5 surrounding 1. When you look at the hexagon, you have 3 pentagons and 3 hexagons, right? So then, as long as these are connecting to every single one of here, you know that everything will stay together, basically, right? But when it comes to the hexagon, when it connects to itself, that's where you technically don't need a connection unless you wanted to go that route. But it's easier to just focus on the pentagon and having a connection to the hexagon. And so in that case, I use these black pieces here. Oops. One is a 1x2 with 2 hooks, and the other one is a 1x2 with stick, right? So when these connect, they also create a hinge, and then that way, when they lay on it, right, they can connect together. I'm going to just show you on the white, since it's a little bit better there, right? So that's how I incorporate those. And with the pentagon, I'll use 5 of these, and with the hexagon, I'll use 3, since you only have 3 attached, right? So going back to the build, so I have 6 sides, and 3 need to be with the stick, the 1x2 stick, and then I have this one white one, which I'll tell you about later on how to use that. So here I have these 1x1s to put on either side, and this gives some stability when I start attaching everything together. And that's 1x1. Okay, so now I do the hooks, or sorry, the hinge pieces, right? The hinge pieces on each one. Make sure you have every other one being the black piece, right? So this one's empty, then I have the black, this one's empty, and then I have the black. So then there you have it, right? You have 6 sides, you got 1 of these black sticks on every other one, and then you have 1 white one, which again, I'll explain in a little bit. But this is the shape that we're going to have on the soccer ball. Here we go. See that? It fits pretty nicely. Now, right, it gets kind of wonky. So the other thing that I needed to figure out was basically what length is from side to side, right? So you have it. So technically, you can put a piece this way, you can put a piece that way, you can put a piece that way to keep it from moving around. And I figured out that 9 studs is the magic number that'll keep it nice and fit to its actual size. So I put this here. So these two are going to designate my 9 studs going across, and then I'm going to use tile 1x4s for the other ones. And the reason being is that I'm going to make a surface on here that I can attach tiles on to change the color of the ball. So I'm going to have the backdrop or the back canvas, so to speak, being white, so that way I can add more color to it. If you've seen my Lego soccer ball, you see that it's covered with flags, and so that's the whole idea here. So now that I have this done, I have my other pieces here. I think I can remember how to do this, on how to build a flat piece that goes on top, right? I know you can't see this from your perspective, but I will show you once I get some of these done. So now the idea is to have one that is at least 9 going across, right? And then going up is 8, is what I figured that that fits on it pretty nicely. This took a while to figure out, so luckily you don't have to think about it. So right now, this middle one, right, is tan because it doesn't matter because it's going to go on the bottom. It's just easier to keep it from a different color. Everything else needs to be white pretty much because it shows. So you have 9 going across and 8 studs going up and down. And so that's why I have these 2 1x4s to connect them like that. And then I have these squares that can fit here, and then 1x4. So now we're getting a more flat canvas, but we kind of want it to build up so that way it can kind of be rounded, right? Because it is a rounded shape. So then I use these L-shaped ones to basically have a 1x6 in the middle, and then it's a 1x4 and then a 1x2. And that's how I finish the top. So it's 3 tiers, right? And then when I add more on top of it, that's going to be the curvature of this one panel. So my 9 going across is the width, and then the 8 going up and down, that's the height. So that's basically your canvas of painting a flag on there, so to speak. And in this case, I chose one of the easier ones to show as an example is Nigeria. And if you know, Nigeria has green on the outsides and white in the middle. It's 3 panels pretty much of color. So if I have 9 going across, then I'm going to have 3 studs worth or width of green, and then the middle 3 will be white. So it makes it pretty simple to design that way. So see, right now, I'm getting there. This can go pretty quick. Now, if you wanted to, you can obviously get pieces that cover the entire length that you need. I ended up just getting it per tile instead. I kind of like the way it looked with each individual piece, but like if you wanted to, right, you could get like a 1x1 and then, sorry, a 1x4 and fill in that middle, or like a 1x4, 1x6, 1x4, you know, whatever you chose. But you know, each way is whichever way you want. You could have it studded too if you wanted to have that. I like the look of the smoothness. So that's why I went with tile, because it looks more realistic to a soccer ball than having studs everywhere. Again, it's your own preference. And yeah, it probably would have been easier to have longer pieces or bigger pieces to finish this off rather than have tiles. But again, it's just what I like. And so there you have it, right? You got green, white, green. And then since it's 9 by 9, you put it on there and then it fits. So to have it compared to what it looks like on the wall for now. So it looked something like that, right? And then we'll have 19 other ones, which I've already completed for the time being. And then now I'll make the pentagon one. So this one's 5-sided, right? So instead of 6 sides, we'll have 5. And then these ones have hooks on every single one. So then I put a hook on one of the 2x4s. We got 5 of those. And then it needs a 1x1 on each side. I'll do that. Boom, boom, boom. So now I got my 5, and then again with the hinges. So you want the hooks out, right? So it hinges like that. You don't want it the hooks hitting each other, just like the previous one that we did. And then you make sure that you have at least 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5. And then there you go. So unlike the hexagon, right, we knew that we could put one going all the way across because you had it correctly done with the angles. But in this case, right, we can't put one single piece going across. So because of that, I only have one 1x4 with studs and the rest with tile. So now I put it like this, but again, it's still kind of flimsy, right? And when you put something on it, it's going to stay flimsy. So I came up with a design to put in the middle of this to keep that from being flimsy. And I designed this before the Captain America shield. And that's the first time I ever saw this little unique design, which I thought was pretty cool. So basically, I'm going to make 5 little segments here with either hooks on each side or sticks on each side. So this one has hooks, and then this one has little sticks. So I'm going to do that 5 times, but on the last one, I'm going to need a hook and a stick. So there's 2 sticks. Here is 2 hooks. And then last but not least, I have a hook and a stick. So something like that. And then I attach them 1 by 1, alternating them. So that way, in the end, I can have a stick and a hook. And there I have a little pentagon, right? So again, I saw this design on Captain America and I thought that was pretty cool. Too bad they didn't get it from me. They got it from themselves, but makes me feel pretty good that I came up with this unique thing first. So you can put it in the middle of that, and then now it's nice and sturdy, right? It doesn't come apart. You can't move it around, just like the hexagon when you attach the face to it. And then when you have it here, so it looks something like that, right? So now I also need to make a top to it. This one is a little bit different, right? It's not going to look more traditionally like, or at least closer to a hexagon, right? I mean, it'll look something like it. So I believe on this one, have some spaces here. And then this is like that. Yeah. And this. Let's do it like that. So I put these ones together. Oh, I forgot. I can look at an older one. This helps me sometimes figure it out. All right, I think I know what I did. Okay, so this. There we go. And then this one goes in the middle, and then these go on the side. Okay, so again, right, 3 levels high, pretty much. So you have a 2x6 in the middle, and then you kind of have a 4x6 with these corner pieces, and then you have 1x2s on the side. And so this is basically what it looks. This is the bottom. This is your width. And so when you attach it to that 1x4, then you get something like this, right? Blank canvas. And so now we'll make the French flag. So that goes blue, white, red. And since this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you can't really divide it by 3, but I think I went 2, 4. Let me see. So these slope pieces for the edges, and then the white is in the middle. Well, it looks like I went 3, 2, and 3. So only the white goes in the middle, right? And then I have the blue. So again, with this slope piece, triangle, triangle, and then squares with triangles at the edges to give it that smooth look. So again, right, if I used like a 2x4 in the middle, then you won't have those other lines in there, but it was just my choice to go with every individual tile, and it makes this very tedious. You can use a computer software program, if you know any, or Lego program to help you with these designs, or you can just use like graph paper. Right? If you draw out the grid, then you can pretty much color code it to make sure that it comes out to the right flag with the appropriate colors. But that's that. So now, when I have my pentagon here, and then I have my hexagon here, you see how it starts to form what we want. Now the only thing is, or the last part of this build before I put it all together, is that these hinges get exposed, right? I didn't like how that looked. So in order to make sure that these get covered up, I made 2 types of, let's call them seams. One with a little triangle at the end, and the other one without. And so the ones that basically go around the pentagon have a triangle, and then the ones that, because when you attach another one here, you kind of get this triangle space, and so that was the idea behind the little triangle, which you'll see once I put it together. But for these seams, to give you an idea, it's basically 4 pieces or 6 pieces. So when it comes to this one here, right, you have the hook, the 1x1 that goes in the center. you have the jumper that attaches to that 1x1, and then you have two inverted slopes that are 1x2s, right? Because that's how they would connect to the jumper. And that's how you get the seam to cover. But if you need a little triangle at the end, then I use these little 1x circle with the stick, and you attach that to the end of one of these, and then you have this little triangle with a hook, and you attach that to the end. So there it goes. And then when you have the ones that don't have the little triangle, you can attach that just to these white ones here, like so. And then you can leave them on when you put them together, because if you try to, say, leave one on here and then try to attach it, sometimes it can be difficult. So it's better to just add these ones with a triangle at the end. So now I'll show you how to get to the end here. So I have, right, 20 of these hexagons already built here with flags on them, so that it's quick to show how to put it all together. Now, all these have different ways of putting these seams on them, because they don't all have the same hooks. You would think that every single one would have 6 hooks surrounding it, right? Always 3 black, because those are the ones that are attached to the pentagon, and then 3 white ones. But in reality, we're going to have 5 of those that have 3 whites. We're going to have 4 that have only 2 on either end, right? Because we have one missing here. And then I think it's the ones that are alive. So this one only has 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with the 5. And then you have 4 that don't have any. And so basically, when you put them all together, you want to make sure that you always have at least one of these whites exposed, but never 2 whites together, right? Because that's what holds the seam, so to speak. So I have these, and I'll put them over here. And what you want to do is start with the original. Doesn't matter what flags you start with, but you want to start with a pentagon, and then you need to put 5 hexagons around it, right? So you can pretty much use 2 that don't have them, and then 2 that have them, and then 1 that has it, or something like that. So if you attach it 1 by 1 at a time, right? There's a hook. So this one doesn't have one, so you want to make sure that you have at least 1 white in between. Or here, let me do it this way. There we go. So then this one doesn't have any, and then this one does. So now you've come to a point where you have one that doesn't have it and one that does. So you want to make sure that it's angled accurately. So there you have it, right? The one that does and the one that doesn't. So here's I don't know if I can hold it up. There you go. So if you can see, right, you got the blacks all connected together, and then you have the whites standing free and only having 1 in between each one, right? Now the next step is what's going to make it even sturdier. So now we need at least 5 pentagons, and now you just need to attach the pentagons to each hexagon, because it goes black and black, right? So there's a black, and then these ones attach, and so forth. Of course, these are not wanting to stay together for some reason. usually pretty good at staying together. Seems like they're more wearing out. Okay, so there we go. And then this one here. Now I got one left. So there you have it, right? So you got so far one pentagon in the middle, 5 hexagons surrounding it, and then another 5 pentagons. And we're about 1/4 of the way done. So then now we put hexagons in between. I think on this one, it could almost be all of these. So this one has 3 whites surrounding it. So as long as this one doesn't have a white, then you can use it. So 3 whites. So again, 3 whites. I think it's on the last one that it already has a white. So then we need to make sure that we pick one that doesn't. So then there's 3 whites. Whoops. So here, this is the one that has it. So then I'm going to choose one that doesn't have it. So here we go. 1 and 1. All right. So now the hard part. So you're going to need at least 5 pentagons and 5 hexagons, because so far you've been doing 1 and 1 the whole time. This is about halfway done, and now you're going to have to do 1 and then the other, 1 and then the other. So you got to pay attention to how this looks, right? I'm going to save one of these ones that doesn't have any for last, and you'll see why when I do choose to use that one last. So here you have 2. And then these are 2 that don't have it, so I'm going to put that one first. And then with the pentagon, obviously it doesn't matter because they are always attaching no matter what. So there's 1. So now I go to the next one. This one has it. This one doesn't. So I can at least pick one that has 1 or 2, not one that has all. So I'm going to pick one that has just 1 on it. So again, you only attach it to the pentagons. And then this one, here we go. Attach it to the hexagons. And then here's one that has 2. So I'll choose again this one that only has 1, leaving the 2 exposed. There's the simple connect, and then I'm going to connect these ones. Come on. There we go. All right. So again, we got 2 that are available. So I'll use this single one again. And then here's another pentagon. So we're almost on the last one. We got 1 of each left. So 2 that are available. I'll choose this. No, I can choose this one that has 0. That's fine. There we go. And then now you see that there's 3 left. So this is the last pentagon this round before we do the final top part. Ever so gently. And there you go. Right? So we're practically getting there. Now the final part. So instead of just attaching all the hexagons and then the pentagon on top, that one has 5 attachments. So that's pretty difficult. So that's why I like to use this one, because then you don't have to worry about any of the white parts on it, and it's just the black attachment. So I'm going to attach one of these in an appropriate position. So this one doesn't have one. So I'm going to angle it so that it does have one now of those white seams. And then I'll attach one more over here. So this one has 2, and this one has 2 missing. So I'm going to attach it here. And now you can see at the top, I have 2 spaces here to attach the pentagon, the last pentagon. Boom. And then now we have, whoops, now we just have 3 spots left, right? So first, I'll try to choose the one that needs all, I guess. This one needs all of them. So if I put it on here, that means this one has 1 space here. Ooh, this is interesting. Actually didn't set up the way I wanted to. Wow. Okay, so if I use 2 here, I wonder if I messed up somewhere else. It would be butting each other. Well, that is weird. All right, well, I'm just gonna have to edit these. Clearly, I miscalculated somewhere, which has never happened, so I'm really surprised. I do have a layout that shows how to put all these together without having to worry about miscalculating, so I'll share that. But all right, back to here. So we have 1 and 1, and this has none and none. So I'm gonna put that one there, and then attach it. Ooh. Wish I could show you better, but these last ones get pretty tricky. You have to do it very carefully. Okay, so now we got the last one. So the last one is the single one. And so you just slightly place them in one at a time. Let me fix this. There we go. All right, and there you have it, right? You're almost done. You have all of them attached now. One of the last things to do is to make sure this seam is halfway. So before they are kind of like attached or bent towards the hexagon. So you kind of just have to move them. So that way they're in the middle of each seam to help keep exposure of seam into the middle of the ball, right? That's the idea behind them. And then the fun part is attaching all these ones with flags. So, or with triangles. So however you put it, that's how you're going to put it all the way around. So there's one, it's to the left, it's to the left. So you put 5, and see, that's how you cover all your bases around that one. And so you just do that for every single pentagon here. And it doesn't matter which way you go, whether you go left or right, just as long as you're consistent, because you can't put 2 on the same side, right? So keep filling it out. It should just click nice and easy in there. And whenever you're moving the ball around or trying to be secure with it, try to make sure you put your fingers on the center of the flags. So when you put them on the center of the flags, that gives its best stability. If you put it on one of those seams, most likely that seam's gonna pop out. Oh, see, this is where I messed up. There's one that's missing. I didn't catch that. All right, let's go. I'm gonna put some more before I show my final resting place. Pretty much done with this. This can take a little bit of time just because how many would you have to put, right? You have 5 to put around a pentagon. And how many pentagons do you have? You have 12. So 12 pentagons times 5, that means you need 60 of these seam pieces. And you also need at least 60 of the other ones as well. So that's 120 times of putting these on. But like I mentioned, the other ones can be put on prior, so it's a lot easier. So then it's just a matter of moving them left or right, depending on where the middle is. But these ones, you have to carefully put on, and hopefully you don't mess it up. Because sometimes those flags, those triangles can come off, and it can get very, very annoying to try to put them back on. Because then you have to, a lot of times they go into the ball, and then when that happens, you kind of have to start over again and try to get one of the pieces out. That can be very tedious. All right, so we'll say that's completed there. So over here to my left, I have my little pitch of field that I created, right? This is basically the design of one of the hexagons on the front. Remember I told you it's 1x2, 1x4, 1x6, 1x4, 1x2, right? So when you do that, it can basically fit on one of them like this. And what I did for basically the country that you don't care to show, since one of these will not show that well, I picked Zimbabwe here. And these flags represent the Women's World Cup that happened in 2023. So Zimbabwe was ranked the least. So it's an African country that's not as known for having the best soccer players, but when you put the bricks out like that, then it helps keep it in place. So thank you for watching me if you stayed the whole time, and I'm hoping to continue this at least once a week. Should be on Wednesdays. And next week, I'm going to try something completely brand new, and that is trying to design the new mascots of the World Cup to keep it soccer central. So please share, comment, let me know what you think, and hopefully I'll see you again later. All right? Thank you.